My name is Amanda and I currently live with my in-laws Ben and Susan. Life under their roof is far from peaceful. Every single day feels like walking on shattered glass. Can't you even clean properly? Having a young wife with no common sense is such a burden. Susan's voice echoes through the house from dawn until nightfall. At first, she pretended she was muttering to herself, just loud enough for me to hear. Over time, she dropped the act completely and began throwing her insults directly at me, her words sharp and unapologetic. "You really are useless," she'd say without even looking at me. "My sister-in-law Jessica is no better." She copies Susan's behavior perfectly, piling on the same mockery and cruelty as if it were second nature. Together they make sure I never forget how unwanted I am. What hurts the most is that they weren't always like this. Before the wedding, Susan and Jessica were warm, affectionate, almost loving. "From now on, we're family," Susan had said with a gentle smile. "Don't hesitate to speak your mind," Jessica added cheerfully. "I'm so happy to have a new sister." Their kindness filled a hollow place inside me, a place that had existed for as long as I could remember. My parents died in an accident when I was 5. I grew up orphaned before being adopted. My adoptive mother raised me with care and patience. But even so, there was always an emptiness I couldn't explain, a quiet longing for connection that never fully went away. Even at 21, I struggled to understand love and belonging. Marriage was something I never thought I'd choose. Then I met Jack. With him I felt warmth, safety, and acceptance. When Susan and Jessica treated me kindly, I truly believed I had finally found the family I had been missing all my life. That belief made it easy to move in with them. But the moment we started living together, everything changed. Susan and Jessica began treating me like a servant. Their voices hardened, their expressions cold. No matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. I spoke to Jack about it more than once. "Mom and Jessica don't mean anything by it," he'd say dismissively. "You're just too sensitive. Try being more positive, like them." From his perspective, I must have seemed exhausting, quiet, tearful, never pushing back. But his refusal to see what was happening cut deeply. I knew their behavior wasn't fair, yet I couldn't bring myself to confront them. Since childhood, I had learned to read the moods of adults around me. When they were angry, I shrank. When they scolded me, fear took over, fear of being disliked, of being abandoned, of being thrown out again. That fear followed me into adulthood, tying my tongue when I most needed to speak. Instead of fighting back, I swallowed everything. The resentment built slowly, turning bitter. 6 months into the marriage, my heart felt dangerously close to breaking. Worry didn't change anything, and Susan and Jessica only became worse. Then one day, Jack's younger sister Emma came to visit. Much younger than Jack, Emma had a straightforward, honest personality. She looked sweet, almost delicate, but her words were sharp, and her heart was sincere. Unlike Susan and Jessica, she was consistently kind to me, and that alone seemed to unsettle them. "Amanda, you've lost weight," Emma said one afternoon, frowning. "Did Mom and Jessica say something nasty to you again?" Jessica snapped. Immediately, "What are you talking about? What have we ever done to her?" Emma's eyes narrowed. "You and Mom act nice in front of Jack, but the moment his back is turned, you're cruel." "My brother's clueless, so I worry." "Mind your own business," Jessica shot back. "I'm just educating her as her older sister." "Wow," Emma replied coolly. "That's incredibly condescending. By the way, are you still unemployed?" Jessica's face flushed red. "I just haven't found a job worthy of my abilities," she snapped before storming off. Jessica had been jobless since graduation. She occasionally helped around the house but did little else. Emma, on the other hand, had lived independently since college and worked at a top company. "I'm sorry." "Amanda," Emma said quietly, turning back to me. "But judging by that reaction, I can guess exactly what's going on here." "Don't worry, I'm staying tonight. I'll deal with them." "What do you mean, deal with them?" I asked, nervous yet hopeful. That evening, dinner was unbearable. Jack was working late, leaving just Susan, Jessica, Emma, and me at the table. As usual, Susan and Jessica began their attacks. You still can't cook properly, Susan sneered. When will you learn our family's taste? If Dad were still alive, he wouldn't touch this, Jessica added. Poor Jack, marrying someone like you, Susan smirked. You didn't grow up with your mother's cooking, so this is the best you can do. Emma finally put her fork down. Our family's taste? She said calmly. Wasn't it mostly instant meals and takeout? Dad never complained, and he definitely didn't throw tantrums over food. Susan glared. You left this family. Stay out of it. Emma didn't flinch. And you've never had a proper job? So why are you acting superior now? Susan was furious but speechless. For the first time in months, someone had silenced them. I felt something unfamiliar relief. I'm just trying to teach Amanda, Susan snapped. She can't even clean properly. Emma replied evenly. Your room is a mess. Maybe because you've never worked, you dump everything on Amanda. And then criticize her. Enough! Jessica shouted. Emma remained steady, repeating her point until Susan and Jessica were shaking with rage. Get out, Susan screamed. Every time you come back, you cause trouble. Emma's voice turned icy. That's because I work, pay taxes, and take care of myself. I don't bully people just because I feel insecure. Before things escalated further, Jack walked in, confused by the tension. Emma stepped in front of him. Jack, have you seriously not noticed what they're doing to Amanda? He frowned. What are you talking about? Emma crossed her arms. Have you not seen how thin she's become? Or are you just choosing to ignore it? Jack stammered, but Emma didn't stop. She played a recording Susan and Jessica's voices, mocking and cruel. Jack went pale. Turning to me, Emma said gently, Stay at my place tonight. I'll handle this. The next morning she called me, assuring me she had confronted Jack. Feeling cautiously hopeful, I returned home. Susan and Jessica were waiting. Their fury was worse than ever. They dragged me inside, shoved divorce papers in front of me, took my phone, and forced my signature. My tears soaked the paper as they laughed, triumphant. Moments later, I stood outside the town hall, hollow and broken. My phone was gone. I was alone. Then I remembered a number I'd memorized long ago. I ran to a payphone.
10 minutes later.
A car pulled up. Emily and Brian, my adoptive parents, stepped out. I collapsed into Emily's arms. As we drove away, she scolded me gently for not calling sooner, while Brian reached over and placed a steady, reassuring hand on my shoulder. We can't let this go. It's our turn to step in. They exchanged a brief, determined look, then made a phone call after hanging up. Brian Saddleton, go. I hesitated. Where are we going? Emily turned to me with a confident smile. To your in-laws' house, Penny Crypt. Me, I don't think I can fast with them. Don't worry, Amanda. Emily said, patting my hand. Just be confident. We're here for you. When we arrived at the house, I could barely move, frozen with fear. Emily gently patted my back again as Brian rang the doorbell. The door opened and Jack came running. To my astonishment, dropped to his knees in front of Brian. I'm so sorry, Jack said, his voice shaking with emotion. What are you doing, sis? Demanded, stepping forward. You, what's going on? Jessica added, quiet. Jack's voice was firm, silencing them. He looked up at my adoptive parents, his face filled with regret. These are Amanda's parents. So what? Susan scoffed, apologizing to your wife's parents on your knees. How pathetic. Jack turned toward, his expression cold. Silence, this year. Not just any parents. This man is the president of the company I work for, and the largest landowner in this area. What? No way. Susan and Jessica gasped, their faces draining of color. Yes way, Jack said, standing. My father-in-law's word alone he could cost me my job, and he owns most of the land in this area, including land. This house is built on my adoptive father's calm yet commanding voice. Cut through their shock. Jack, I'm sorry to have called you out of work for this. Your boss and I agreed it was important to talk in person, of course. Sir, Jack stammered. This is about what my mom and sister have done to Amanda, right? I was planning to talk to you about it today. Emily raised an eyebrow. Did your mother novel you what happened this morning? Jack's confusion deepened. No, what happened this morning? Susan and Jessica began to speak over each other. Their voice is frantic. It's nothing, just a misunderstanding. Quiet. Brian said sharply, this morning your mother and sister forced my daughter to sign divorce papers. and submit them to the town hall. What Jack's voice cracked with disbelief. Emma arrived, just then stepping into the entryway. Sorry. I'm late, Emma. Susan's face turned livid. What are you doing here? Emma ignored her, walking over to my parents. She greeted Brian. Respectfully, I'm sorry to have involved you in this, but when Amanda told me what happened, I knew I had to call you. Brian nodded. You did the right thing. We'll handle this. Jack, still reeling, stammered, please come in, let's discuss this properly. Despite Susan and Jessica's protests, Jack ushered us into the living room. He turned to Brian, his face pale with shame. I'm truly sorry for me mother and sister's behavior, Jack said, bowing deeply. I'm ashamed of myself as well. I promised to protect Amanda from no. On Brian and I exchanged a glance, both puzzled by Jack's sincerity. Jack, Brian said evenly, do you really not know what happened this morning? Jack hesitated, looking between us. I don't. What do you mean? Susan and Jessica tried to interject, but Brian's sharp glare silenced them. This morning, Brian continued, his voice firm, your mother and sister forced Amanda to sign divorce papers and submit them. They made her believe you had filled them out yourself. Jack's eyes widened in shock. He turned to his mother. And sister, is this true? No, of course not, Susan stammered. It was just a joke, Jessica added hastily to teach her a lesson. Brian's voice cut through their excuses like a knife. And now you coerced her into signing and submitting the papers. Admit it. Susan and Jessica finally fell silent, their faces pale. Jack's shoulders slumped. Ash turned to me, tears welling in his eyes. Amanda. I had no idea. He clenched his fists, trembling with anger and regret. I was planning to apologize to you today, he continued. Emma made me realize how much I failed you. I wanted to make things right, to leave this house and start over with you as a couple. He turned to my adopted parents, bowing deeply once again. I'm sorry I failed my wife and let this happen. Please help me make it right. I stood in front of the town hall, stunned as the gravity of my actions hit me. I realized with horror that I had submitted the divorce papers. My hands trembled and tears blurred my vision. Jessica had taken my phone, leaving me helpless. I was ready to apologize, to beg Jack to start over, even if he told me he wanted the divorce, because I truly loved him. But why? Why had it come to this? Before I could spiral further, I remembered a phone number one I had memorized long ago. I hurried to a nearby pay phone, dialing with trembling fingers. When the familiar voice answered, I broke down. The tears I had been holding back poured out, and my words spilled incoherently. Stay where you are, the voice reassured me gently. We coming not long after. A car pulled up. My adoptive parents, Emily and Brian, stepped out, their faces filled with concern. Amanda, Emily said softly as she approached. Meth moment. I saw her. I fell into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. They brought me into the car, and as we drove, I explained everything. Emily's scolding was gentle but firm. You should have come to sooner, Amanda. I didn't want to trouble you, I stammered. Brian glanced at him through the rearview mirror, his voice steady. You're our daughter. It's our turn to step in. After a brief phone call, we drove straight to my in-laws' house. I felt paralyzed by fear. I don't think I can face them, I whispered. Emily held my hand. We're here for you, just be confident. When Jack opened the door, he surprised everyone by dropping to his knees in front of Brian. I'm so sorry, he said, his voice thick with emotion. What are you doing? Susan snapped. Yeah, what's going on? Jessica chimed in quiet. Jack's voice was sharp as he turned to fasten them. Mom, sis, you didn't know who Amanda's parents or did you? If you had, I doubt you'd have bullied her the way you did. I thought you were just ignorant. No, I see it was something worse, a disgusting cruelty. Jessica tried to law it off. You're kidding, right? She probably told you about her parents towing you over. You're wrong. Emma stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension. Amanda's background has nothing to do with this. I stood by her because of you two. You're disgusting behavior. Didn't try to shift the blame. The argument spiraled until Brian intervened. Off. Let's discuss this properly. Once inside, Brian revealed what Susan and Jessica had done, how they had forced me to sign and submit the divorce papers. Jack was visibly shaken, his face pallid with disbelief. Is this true? He demanded, looking at his mother and sister. It was just a joke, Jessica tried to explain, to teach her a lesson. Susan added, enough, Jack roared, silencing them. He turned home, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Amanda, I had no idea I was planning to apologize today, to leave this toxic house and start over with you. I love you. Bree spoke up, his voice measured. I fear serious about protecting Amanda. Are you willing to cut ties with your mother and sister? Yes, Jack said, with a hesitation. Cut ties, Susan exclaimed. Abandon us for her, yes, Jack replied firmly, because Amanda is my wife and I failed her for too long. Emily ouched my arm gently. Amanda, what do you want to do? I couldn't speak, overwhelmed by everything. I stayed silent. Emily turned to Jack. If you mean what you say, come to our house tonight. We'll talk then. That night, Jack came to my parents' house, and true to his word, he cut his with Susan and Jessica. When they began harassing us, they were repeatedly turned away by the police. One night, they shattered a window trying to break into our home. That was the last straw. They were arrested, and with no one to bail them out, they remained in custody. With that chapter of our lives behind us, Jack and I moved into a small apartment. Slowly, we began to rebuild our relationship and enjoy life as newlyweds. Jack has been attentive and kind, standing by my side through the very thing. As for my adopted parents, I no longer call them foster parents. They are my real mom and dad. Their love and support filled an emptiness I hadn't even realized I carried. I've learned to express my feelings and let others in. Allison, Emma helped me see life is imperfect, but it's ours, and for that I'm deeply grateful.